Magic is what happens when peace is near.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 8 of Enlightened Conversations. This season we're diving into all things 7D consciousness, what it is, what it isn't, and how it shows up in our everyday life. I'll also be sharing concepts from my new book, Pieces of Science, towards a unified peace theory, as we explore the fascinating overlaps between spirituality, human behaviour, consciousness, and how we can integrate more peace into our lives. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
You're here, together we are clear.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Today we're diving into the power of process, creation in 7D consciousness. For this episode, our wonderful panel who've been along the journey with us in Season 8 are joining us once more. Karen Roberts, Leanne Barefoot Medium, Chris Childs, Sathiavanni, and Linda Willow Roberts. Together, we're exploring the transformational power of creation itself. In a world often focused on outcomes, achievement, and arrival, we'll be discussing what becomes possible when we learn to trust the process, honour the journey, and engage more consciously with the act of creating. Together, we'll explore how creation influences both our personal evolution and the collective field. We're exploring how creation itself and that process is a pathway to greater alignment and inner peace, greater connection with others, and greater flow in our life, bringing our purpose and meaning to the forefront of our existence. So first up, our first question that we're asking today for all our panel is, how does focusing on the process rather than the outcome realign the soul? And first up, we have Linda Willow Roberts.
Oh, well, it's either when we're up in seventh plane, the first thing that we will do is repair and realign the soul. That's the first thing. And then when we do baby in the womb, and then we get started with the session. So it really is the process of it. There has to be a process of, releasing and letting go. You can't try and build on things until you've done the foundational work. And that's what it is. That's the core work that you need to do, that is following the processes.
Yeah, I mean, we often find that we can't create until we've emptied some of the garbage on top of our core inner part of ourselves that wants to create stuff. It's almost like it's got this heaviness around it. So doing that inner work is so important. I agree, Linda. Okay, let's hear from Leanne.
Especially when we get into a space of overwhelm, and if it's a new skill, a new ability, a new opportunity that you're stepping into, it can feel like you're not ready, you're not worthy, you're not there yet. And so peeling it back from the outcome that you're wanting to the process and how you need to be with that. So it's about being who you want to become, taking the actions that get you there, and then you get the result, not the other way around. So focusing on the process allows us to get little bits of momentum going towards what we're asking for and hit some really good goals during the day.
I think that's one of the most powerful things, is being present with where we actually are, following those little steps. And there's so much power in that present moment, power in the process. Fantastic. Thanks, Leanne. All right, let's hear from Chris.
Wow, that's a good one. Most people really are trained to obsess about outcomes. We set a goal and we stare at a finish line and then spend the entire journey probably worrying about whether we're going to get there. And ironically, that often creates stress, hesitation, and self-doubt. So when someone shifts their focus, that's all it takes. shifting your focus on to the bigger picture, to the process, because when someone does that, something interesting really happens. They become present with what they're actually doing rather than constantly judging how far away the result is. So in NLP, we often say the brain responds best to clear action rather than distant pressure. And when attention moves to the next step instead of the final result, creativity and confidence tends to increase. However, then there's also all of the law of attraction and all of those things as well. So I always believe that a burning desire and an absolute belief and an expectation, when you have those things and then you act as if it's already here, your goals will just come and be drawn to you. But the other really big one is of values and goal alignment. And this was a huge thing for me, because once to be totally frank, I had a goal for 25 years for health, fitness, and appearance. And for 25 years, it was my number 2 goal, and I would work on it and I would try and strive and all the time. And I would make headway. I was rowing my canoe really strongly upstream against the current. And as soon as I had to relax and put my oars in, I would drift right back again. And then I'd pull my oars out and I'd row again, and I'd set my goals, and and then I'd get busy with work and other things and put my oars in about health, fitness, and appearance, and backwards I'd go again. And it wasn't until 2024 when I actually learned about values and goals and alignment that once I analyzed my values, all of my values were giving values. All of my values were helping other people and doing and giving and being and whatever. There wasn't any value at all around health, fitness, and appearance in me. And it wasn't until it was pointed out by a person helping me with the values and goals alignment. And he said, "Are you sure you want this health, fitness, and appearance thing?" And I said, "Oh, more than anything, it's been my 25-year goal." And he said, "Well, we've analyzed all of your values." And he said, "You've got a lot. You've got 17 values. And not only is that not in your top 5, it's not on the friggin' list." And so once I actually did the work to put as a value me, my health, fitness, and appearance, within 12 months, I had reduced 40 kilos effortlessly. And even when I put my oars in, I didn't go backwards. I just sat and waited. I was like I'd flipped my canoe around. I was going downstream with the current. And even when I put my oars in, I kept going. So I think a huge part of my belief system is in goals and values alignment, and in acting as if, if you act as if, it changes, it becomes your identity. And once a goal is your identity, you can't help but get it.
Oh, I love that. It sounds to me like when we become at peace with our own self in the process, because we've aligned our values with our goal, that it becomes more effortless. And because we believe it and because we hold it dear, we are also resonating the goal. We're already believing it, that this is happening because this is how much we value it. Boom, chakalaka, mic drop. Love it. Thank you, Chris. Let's hear from Sathiavanni.
Focusing on the process will actually help your physical body on a cellular level continue to be calibrated on the 7D frequency. Okay. When you reach 7D consciousness, it doesn't mean you just stay there, because it will continue to facilitate for you to keep growing, for you to keep elevating on that frequency. So the process is crucial, because your physical body will need to be maintained in order to operate at that frequency. So you may find that you might be eating quite a lot, but you're burning up a lot of the fuel as well. You're not putting on weight. Why? Is because on that higher vibration, you're requiring more fuel for this body to function. Because keeping in mind the Earth's vibrational frequency is also high. So you have to be able to maintain at that level.
Yes, in order to actually maintain our flow in the process, we need to be honest about where we're meeting the moment and physically what we need to do to support that as well. So it's not just about this is my goal, got to get on with it. It's about, am I actually in the space, in my body, in my emotional energy, and in my mindset to be able to turn up for this. And that's integrity and that's alignment to help us in the process. So it works both ways. It creates the flow and it keeps us in the flow as well. All right, let's hear from Karen.
Well, I think focusing on the process is about anchoring into a way of being with a detachment of an outcome, which to me is 7D consciousness. It's a flow. It's being in a flow myself for whatever it is I'm doing and allowing that to flow into whatever outcome occurs. So I will still set intentions and have intentions of what I would like to happen. But I feel like the process for me is so much more important because it's anchoring more deeply into who I am. And as a result, the process flows and the outcomes get better.
I can resonate with the non-attachment in that as well very strongly, Karen, because I had a meditation recently around everything that I do and everything that I create to think about it from the perspective of not being attached to an outcome. And the liberation of that is huge because I'm not doing something to impress anybody. I'm not doing something for money or financial gain. There's no motives for that. There's no I have to fit into society expectation. There's no I'm in a fear of any fallout from what I'm saying. So it's just a non-attachment, and in that process and in that moment of creation of whatever I'm doing, it's very pure, so therefore very 7D, and it's very connected to my reality and what I'm really meaning to say. So I agree, it's very much about being in a place of non-attachment in that process. Keeps you like a get out of jail free card, because we put ourselves in our own prison sometimes with our expectations of the outcomes, what should happen when we reach our goal. All right, now let's move on to our second question for our team. How does producing or creating impact the collective energy field? And first up we have Linda.
Well, anything anybody does affects the world around you. I mean, way back when in my 20s, I did Reiki 1 and they tested us, our energy field with a tuning fork, and it was like about 4 feet. And then after Reiki 1, it was out meters. So don't ever think, and I have to remind myself to bring my energy back in when I'm at home, because I don't want to be up in the neighbour's business. So whatever we think, feel, do affects it, every single person. But if the mass consciousness is all feeling the same thing, then that's, we're building that as well. So it's like, the energy bubble. When you're with somebody that has similar energy as you are, like we are now, our energy is building. I'm getting hotter and hotter and hotter. I can feel our energy is building. So, but on the other side of the coin, when we're learning to be intuitive and empathic, we can get absolutely drained and it sucks the life out of us. So you've got to acknowledge your energy and where it goes to be able to manage it.
Trillion percent, 100%. I resonate with that so well, like just for this moment. And you, Leanne and Linda, you're talking about focusing on creating your energy changing, like that's a great example of creation. Wow. And expanding that and moderating that and all the things. However, we recorded your answer to these questions back in March, and I'm in June, And I'm still feeling the energy that was resonating off you at that moment. And it's actually the power of that. I actually need that today. I really need that today. I just felt like the actual power of the process of creating this podcast series is feeding me, and it's helping me to turn up for it, because it's a very different format from what I'm used to. I'm used to sitting across from somebody and having a banter and having a chat. This is so different. I'm sitting here alone in my home recording this months on from having you talk about it, and thinking to myself, wow, this is a really long process I am going through, but everything that's being shared with me from you, from Sathiavanni, from Leanne, from Chris, from Karen, from Sarah Jade, that like it has carried me to do this process, because it's really different and it's not something that I'm used to. And so I've had to reframe it and say, well, I'm in this process, I'm along for the journey, I'm on the wave, I'm on the ride. Allow the universe to feed me, to sustain me, so I can turn up for this process that is really different and it's not the usual. So, just being open-minded, open-hearted, and allowing ourselves to be where we are being met by the universe is really powerful and can get us through and can carry us through. Very inspirational. All right, let's hear from Leanne.
Producing or creating, whether it and that can be in all different contents, it can be producing knowledge, information, systems, processes, legislation, frameworks, whatever. So as a society, we are within frameworks and structures and processes in our human world that we have to follow. There's people who push back on them. Great, you're still going to have to do them. So push away and feel that resistance and that angst and all of those things. Systems, processes, frameworks help us all be able to be creative within those frameworks. So they're not separate things. They're not there to control us. They're there to support.
Yes, I think we all have a little inner rebel when we've got frameworks we have to live within. I think that we miss opportunities, though, if we don't look for what is the bigger message in the process for us to be learning, that to make it easier. There could be other things at play, like Leanne just said, that you're being supported by certain frameworks to potentially open up parts of you that you're not aware of, or highlight blockages or resistance within you that could be cleared away, could be transformed. So really good point there, Leanne, that we're being supported within frameworks of creation sometimes. All right, let's hear from Chris.
So creation always ripples outwards. So every idea and project and conversation or piece of work really influences someone else. And when people create from frustration or fear, that energy shows up in the result. And when people create from curiosity and contribution and genuine interest, that energy turns up as well. So from a consciousness perspective, producing something meaningful actually adds value to the collective environment. It might be the knowledge, the inspiration, it might be art or innovation or a simple, thoughtful conversation. Human progress really has come from individuals deciding to create something rather than simply consume what already exists.
Yes, and it's interesting because when you look at the universe and the bigger picture and the bigger field, we're all drawing from that to create, aren't we? So we're also feeding it as well. So it's kind of like this circular, this infinity thing. Is anything really original? Is my question, because obviously because we're it's dropping down from somewhere. We're pulling it down and getting inspired and then feeding it up. And on it goes. And I just want to bring one very practical thing. One thing when my kids were growing up that we'd all take turns cooking once a week. The kids would make a meal, what have you, and we'd always make sure how we felt before we started cooking was in a good place, not an angry place, because we all spoke about how important it was not to put anger in the food. So no matter what we create, whatever we're cooking, whatever project we're working on, the way we feel while we're doing it, it really matters, like what Chris said. And I agree, I concur. And so if we are feeling frustrated, if we are feeling depleted, if we are feeling resistance, the best thing we can do is and we know we have to turn up, the best thing we can do is be curious about how whatever we're doing could help shape our energy, like I am today, like really help me, draw from what's going on to help me to be inspired and to cultivate more awareness around what people are feeding me and how I can then feed out in a way that's really transparent and not fake, like I'm being very real with you guys. So just taking that time in that moment to check in with how you're feeling while you're doing it is super important. And it's okay to take yourself offline, just reset, reboot, do what you need to do to get back into a sense of curiosity, wonder, and open-mindedness with regards to whatever you're creating and whatever you're turning up to. Okay, let's hear from Sathiavanni.
How it will impact the collective energy field will be very much the thought, the intellect, the understanding of the vibration and the feel is what's going to be affected positively. So a piece of, and this is something with artists, for many, artists in general who are very connected to source are able to create impactful images that triggers one to feel, to think, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Okay, so it's very much in that tone to help humanity awaken and go, oh my goodness, because again, the vibration is what is going to be felt rather than what you're going to see. Everything is about senses. Okay, the stimuli will be the senses on that higher frequency. For example, I can smell someone's frequency. That's one of my gifts. I can smell their frequency. And then when I'm working on them or whatever the case may be, if they're a client or just in general, I can smell. So that is one of my gifts. So it's can be a bit disconcerting sometimes, but that's where we're at. Everything on an energetic level. So there is there's going to be more importance in terms of the process, learning to understand energy.
Yes, and we can often feel the intention behind the creation, can't we? So it might be the creation itself has a certain smell or a certain frequency, but then the intention behind it is something else. And we can get into those nuances in 7D consciousness and really forensically disseminate them and digest them. And that is a real art form itself in our own frequency and our own consciousness in terms of appreciating creation. And we won't always resonate with the medium or the way a creation meets us, but we might be able to connect with the meaning behind it, and that might meet us. And so instead of throwing something out that maybe doesn't initially resonate, we can maybe sit with it and go, oh, hang on a second, what's the deeper message here? What is this trying to speak to me and say, and how can I best meet it with where I am in my own understanding? So therefore we become more in a sense of unified peace with it. So creation can give us that opportunity or invitation. All right, let's hear from Karen.
When we're creating something, and if we're creating in 7D consciousness, there's such a beautiful awareness of how this will impact not only me, but everyone else. And so you're creating from a heart space, I guess, a heart-led, soul-aligned space. And so the impact on the bigger field is one of love, of expansion, of, I guess, goodwill towards everyone.
Yes. And I mean, we do talk about non-attachment, but we also talk about how when we heal, everyone heals. So I think it's good to be mindful of how will this impact everyone else, because that's a beautiful thing. But also, if we overthink that because we're thinking too much around, oh, you know, I don't want to be this and I don't want to be that, then we kind of might miss authenticity. So it's really good to balance it out with everything I do is healing me. That's also healing the collective field, and the greater good is provided for in that way. If I withhold because I want to, I guess, caretake society, that could be toxic, and that could be blunting our creativity too. So yeah, there's that. All right, let's move on to our next question, which is, what are the common challenges people face when focusing on the process? All right, first up we have Linda.
Resistance. You have got no idea what people will do when they're resistance, when you're doing a course or a workshop with them and they're like, you get to a part that's hard for them, because not everybody's the same. So we're all unique. So you'll get to a hard part that is a trigger for them, and they'll have to go to the loo and come back in about 20 minutes time, or can't come tonight, or I've got to take this phone call, or things just build up and just happen. And it's funny when you sit back and you know what's happening, and I'll just say, trigger, did that trigger you? Did that resonate with you? But they need to put, invest in themselves, and they've got to come up with it. You can't do it all. I mean, I can go into theatre and I can remove blocks within a second like that. But there needs to be an investment, and they need to be part of that journey. And so you only ever release something when you're ready. And that's part of, the process.
Oh yeah, our inner rebel. I guess the big thing that jumps out at me here is we can't let go of something unless we're willing. And we can have all the help and resources around us in the world. But if we're not willing, and that's one of our peace stabilizers, one of our 12 peace stabilizers, willingness. If we're not willing, nil will happen. And even if on a scale to 1 to 10 we're unwilling, but on a scale of 1 to 10 we're willing to be willing, say we're sitting at a 7, I'm willing to be willing, just not willing, then that's still something. That's a willingness to be willing, and we can work with that. So yeah, that's my tip for today. Be willing to be willing if you're unwilling. All right, let's hear from Leanne.
Common challenges. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Or am I good enough? And those limiting beliefs that often come up, or the frustration or the feeling stuck, would be one of the big things that people often experience, is stuckness or frustration of the, I don't know what to do next, or I don't know, and that's a disconnect from source and the divine consciousness, because as a soul you do know. And so each time you limit yourself and you have those limiting beliefs or thoughts, you disconnect yourself from source, you disconnect yourself from your own knowing, and you disempower yourself from the decisions and choices that feel light and right for you, whether anyone else agrees or not.
Yes, I think judging the resistance creates more resistance and more stagnation. And if we can be at peace with our resistance and go, I'm feeling resistant right now, I'm not sure, I'm feeling unsure right now, I'm open to guidance here, then we shift gears straight away. If I was on a songwriting course recently and really enjoyed that, and one of the participants was really stuck, and we'd all gone away and written some lyrics and come back and shared them with each other, and then we're sort of brainstorming a little tune, and this particular person had written nothing, and the teacher actually asked her, so how did you go? And she said, oh, I'm stuck. I didn't do anything. I can't think of anything to write. And the songwriting teacher actually got her guitar out and started to do a tune. I'm stuck and I don't know what to write. And it sounded amazing, like amazing. And you should have seen the face of the woman who was stuck. She just realized, wow, I can just start where I am. And if I embrace that, then magical things can happen. And I mean, I'm just putting words to what her face said. But, and it might not have felt that, but that's how I felt. So let's hear from Chris.
Well, one of the biggest challenges probably in patience, humans like quick results. We start something new and 2 minutes later we're wondering why is it already not here? And then, our focus changes too when we stop focusing on things. Another challenge is comparison. People look at someone who's been practicing a skill for 20 years and wonder why they're not instantly at the same level. So in NLP, we might call this a distortion of time and experience. So the mind conveniently ignores all of those years of practice behind someone else's success and focuses on the process that actually requires, patience, maybe in a willingness to improve gradually. We're expecting, instant. We want instant gratification. Whereas what we need to do is understand that we will change gradually. It's less glamorous than the instant success stories, but it's usually far more reliable as well.
I have to laugh because I heard my mum in the background. She's passed away now, but I heard her say, because she used to say this to me a lot, because I guess I am a little bit of an impatient person. She said the gift of patience is more patience. And I don't know if she was quoting someone. I should Google it, but all I know is I heard my mum talking to me, reminding me that, because I do need that at putting this series together, because usually I turn up and I'll just record like a half hour or an hour with someone and then that's it. And this has been a lot of kind of more reflecting, a lot of listening and then responding, and often it takes a while to put like one episode together for me, and I'm going through a lot. So it's been really different. So I'm hearing my mum reassure me, giving me a little bit of a pat on the back. Hope you're hearing it for you all too in your world, whatever you're creating, and being at peace with the process. All right, let's hear from Sathiavanni.
The challenges will be just pure frustration, because you can't pigeonhole it to say, oh, I've mastered it, because you won't. Like for myself, I don't claim to be an expert or a master at anything, because as I am a teacher, I'm also growing and evolving as well, and learning, and the information that I receive, I disseminate, and through that, I also learn and grow. And that is, so the frustration would be to pigeonhole it to say, this is how it is. So the best way is to say, yep, this is the outcome we receive, but it is open for evolution as well. Okay, so you got to kind of just understand that everything is going to be constantly changing. Okay, timelines will be changing as well, so just keep that in mind.
I love that. Yes, timelines are changing, babies. We're affecting the future, we're affecting the past, we're rewriting parallel universes as we empower ourselves and as we create and evolve and grow and learn. And it's wonderful to be in a place of non-attachment, knowing that things are in evolution and don't have to be perfect and will continually change. And we just meet the moment where we meet it in the process and know that it will be enough for that moment. And for another space or time, it will be in a certain place where it's understood to have been enough at that moment in time, especially looking at it from a 7D consciousness perspective. Everything's perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect, whichever way you want to look at it. All right, let's hear from Karen.
Focusing on the process, possibly we can get misaligned, get pulled into a shadow part in the process. You know, we're such a dynamic, complex being. And so, you know, we can get pulled at any moment, triggered into a part of ourselves that maybe is not a part that's going to help us get to where we want to go. So I think for me, the process that can be a bit of a stumbling block at times if a shadow part pops in, and that's where having an awareness, a really deep awareness and connection with ourselves, being really conscious, allows us to notice that happening and come back into alignment.
Yeah, it's like the cart before the horse thing. It's like we set a goal, we turn up, we create, we go with the flow, we turn up to the process. But part of that process could be that it was for healing a certain part of ourselves along the way. And so being in a space of humility around being in flow and being in the process, I am very much today. I'm in a space of humility today because I'm realizing the whole process of this whole podcast is to teach me where my alignment is moving to and where it's moving away from as well. So I'm learning a lot. I think I'll share more about that soon, but I'm just sort of in that process now. So I can share it real time with you, but I feel like honoring that process means, and I have prayed about this, means taking a moment to actually understand it for myself, understand that shadow aspect, understand that hidden gem that's just about to emerge, and being at peace with it. So let's move on to our next question. I am very much at peace with it in this moment in time, by the way. All right, here's the next question. How can listeners cultivate deep creative flow daily? And first up, we have Linda.
You've got to really set up your day. So before I get out of bed of a morning, when my eyes first wake up, or my eyes don't open when I first wake up, I'm thinking that I'm going to have a really good day today. Everything's going to, be working okay, that I'm grateful for today. And so I'm setting myself up for the day for starters. I've got a painting in there that I was going to go back to. It's got the base sort of picture on it, and I'm going to go back and do some stuff on it. And that's probably 3 months ago. So I've thought, and I've given myself a little bit of a hard time that I haven't gone back to it, but that it probably hasn't been the right time. So I think not giving yourself a hard time for not doing what you think you should be doing and just allowing it to happen and unfold how it should. And by really putting into your body what you want to nurture. I go up to I've got a contract with the Creator. Everything I eat and drink is for my optimal health, everything. So whatever you're wanting to do it when you get guided to do it. I know that life gets in the way and we have to do things, but don't beat yourself up that you haven't done that creative thing that you wanted to do. You will do it when it's the right time, or when you allow it to be the right time and you get out of your head and get back into alignment again.
Sometimes we get nudges to stop, and sometimes we get pushed to go as well, like from the universe. Good example, I wasn't going to do this podcast today. I was going to have a break for a couple of days, but I feel an absolute push to do it today. And it's actually not coming from impatience. It's more coming from curiosity, because I'm at episode 9 of 12 and I have other things that are like, you can feel them coming through, that they're pushing me to finish so that those other things want to come through. It's like being in deep creative flow can happen, but sometimes you need to also close loops to creative flow that you're currently in before the other ones can come in. I actually experienced that the other week when I finished writing one of my albums, and it wasn't until I'd actually finished writing it and so uploading it into distribution that other music came through, and it came through, a lot came through, like a lot. So it was like, oh, okay, we're just waiting for you to finish. And I feel like that's what this podcast now is doing. So I'm really kind of curious as to what's next in that respect. When you feel that push, follow it. All right, let's hear from Leanne.
Oh, I like that one. Connect to your intuition, connect to your soul, connect to yourself, and ask a question. Where is my flow today? Or show me the flow, or I'm ready for my next step. Show me what that is, depending on where you're at. So coming back to asking questions, connecting with source, connecting with divine consciousness, whatever, and inviting that knowledge and wisdom in to show you where, and flow is where the energy's built up and where it's ready to go.
Yeah, show me the flow. Where's my flow? Where am I going? What's going on? And sometimes we resist it. Sometimes we flow with it, flow with the push. It's a little bit like dancing with life and just allowing the next groove, the next song to come through to feel into where our inner peace and our inner alignment is meeting that song. And all songs are different, aren't they? All parts of creative process are different. They're like colors of the rainbow. So it's about keeping that open mind, and asking the question is really beautiful, like opening the door, isn't it, Leanne? Like, where's my flow? I like it. All right, let's hear from Chris.
Well, creative flow tends to happen when attention is focused and distractions are reduced. So this means creating periods of time when someone can actually work without constant interruption. And I usually work on my 2 or 3 times a day. I'll do a power hour. And what a power hour is a set time, usually on the hour. I will say, right, between 10 and 11, I'm just going to work. So I will be working. I will have all of my notifications turned off. The phone won't be in the room, and no one will interrupt. The door will be shut, and I have a power hour. And then I might come out and I'll have half an hour break. And during that half an hour, if anyone needs me, I'll check my messages. I'll check, return phone calls. I'll do all of the things. And then I'll go back in for another power hour. And then I'll come out, have a half hour break and whatever. And if I can do 3 power hours and have that non-interruption time, you can create so much more.
Yeah, 100 million %. I love the boundaries around time, around containment of our energy. And often I'll go into a little meditation, have a little chat with my guides, figure out what's next. But if you're feeling stuck, here's a tip. The brain actually has neural pathways that light up when you're moving that help you with creativity. And this has been scientifically proven. So you can go for a walk, have an intention to get in the flow and see what comes to you, and notice what's around you. It might be sounds, it might be visuals, whatever it is, feelings, thoughts, songs that you might hear while you're walking, and use those as cues to help you unlock your flow. There's a tip for you. I learned that recently. Now let's hear from Sathiavanni.
Even if you spend just 10 minutes just in nature, you will start to feel the difference. You will start to notice, and you will start to feel some form of integration, because even in that space, because collectively, everything is shifting even more into that crystalline body, and you will start to see and you will start to feel the energy changes. So if you've been catching the same train every day, and you always see a particular tree where you stand, start taking notice of that tree, because you will start to see, oh my goodness, there is changes there, because everything is changing energetically. So just these little practices, start to pay more attention, just to help your awareness awaken a little bit more. Okay, it'll be subtle but impactful.
Nature is really sneaky. You can go for a walk and you think that it's just a walk. No, there's just so much more going on that we probably don't even realize. we're being fed, we've got our creative flow being triggered, we've got connections with potentially with energies that we need and require, and that will help us with our creative flow as well. So yeah, I agree, Sathiavanni. Nature is incredible. So yeah, even if we are doing it in our mind as well, connecting to the natural world in our mind, if we are somewhere where we're not connecting, like we have no windows or something, we can still do it. The power of that intention is real. All right, let's hear from Karen.
Deep creative flow is something that is beyond our physical body. So it's anchoring into different states of awareness. And for me, it's being in nature, doing things for me, my self-care, my self-love in the mornings, of connecting deeply with myself, of sitting in nature, going for a walk, exercising. When we do things like that, we do open up our connection, our flow, our creativity. Sometimes we need to move. Movement's really, really good for creativity to flow.
Definitely. So we all agree nature and movement is a big one. All right, our next question actually dives a little bit deeper and further into things around, are there any rituals or practices to honour process over product? First up, we've got Linda.
Some days, and it's in your mind, so you're thinking, and you've got to produce things, so you really need to step out of that. Get out of your head, back into your heart, and like breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. And as you're doing that, think that the breath's going into your heart. Now, what that's doing, it's taking you out of your head and it's bringing you back into the present moment. And then grounding yourself while you're breathing. Imagine the tree roots coming up from the ground, wrapping around your feet and anchoring you. Your earth star is anchoring you to the ground. And that's allowing you to be out of your head, to be in that space. I would like to be up in spirit 100%. I really don't like doing stuff down here, admin-y stuff or anything like that. But I have to do that because we are humans having a human experience, spiritual beings having a human experience. So you really have to tap in to your mind, to your heart, to the spirit, to your soul, and align yourself so that you are in that spiritual flow. So it's really relaxing your control of things, and people find that really hard.
Yeah, often we focus on an end result, which is like the product, and any rituals that honour the process are actually, ironically, about becoming more connected to our own 3D body and more embodied in our energy centers. And so that we are nourished, we are grounded, and we are able to listen to what our next steps are. Because when we caught up with the end result, it can become a very superficial journey rather than one of enlightening. So I agree, Linda, it's beautiful to ground ourselves in our very 3D body so that we can handle the 3D reality that we live in. All right, let's hear from Leanne.
That comes back to your own individual way of being, and it might be, I talked about grounding and getting present and getting intentional with what that energy is that you want to bring in for the day. And so then those practices allow you to flow with that energy throughout the day. And if your intention is peace and rest, then do that. And you might be called to take a nap or do nothing, and that's meeting your intention, that's aligned with your intention. So that's the practice that you do. If it's about productivity and having a really productive and effective day, then flow with where that energy is and have that to-do list and cross things off if that's how you work.
I love how you're not judging being productive in this process, Leanne, because often that's the kind of day I want to have. and my energy's meeting it. It's like, yes, I want a productive day. I've got all this stuff I want to get done. I want to tick off my to-do list, and it feels so good at the end of the day. And I think that for me, that's a clearing the decks day. You know, you're clearing the decks, you're making room. If they're stacking and you've got a lot to do, it can feel very heavy as well. So it's about allowing yourself to clear the decks and that to be part of the creative process as well. All right, let's hear from Chris.
A simple practice is to celebrate progress rather than waiting for the final result. And that probably in weight loss is perfect. Like I have my end goal, and if I was just waiting on my end goal, you know, it'd be a very long time. Whereas if I celebrate every 5 kilos, so you know, my next goal is that 5 kilos, and how close am I to that 5 kilos? So celebrating each thing along the way, acknowledging the effort and the learning, and have a reward system so that it's just not this big chunk of work ahead of you. So if that means writing a book, you only have to set a goal to write the chapter. If it means, you know, losing weight, it's only this 5 kilos. If it's fitness, it's only whatever. So, you know, you're setting yourself probably many goals and many habits along the way. And another helpful habit is setting small daily actions instead of overwhelming. Because when someone decides they're going to be fit, healthy, and do all of the right things, they go, right, I'm going to eat, you know, this style of eating, and I'm going to go to the gym every day, and I'll walk my 10,000 steps every day. And on the third day, they go, shit, I don't feel like getting out of bed because it's too big. Whereas mine, I started mine with, I only have to get up, get dressed, and walk to the end of the driveway. That's it. That's my exercise. And I'd get up, get dressed, put my shoes on, walk to the end of the driveway. Would I stop there? Well, if it was raining and cold and the middle of winter and I'd go, no, I'm not in the mood today, yes, that's all I do. And I'd walk back and I'd tick it off, I've done my exercise. Other days I'd walk 5 kilometres. Other days I might walk around the block. Other days I might walk down to the waterfall and back. And I've ticked the goal no matter how little it is. So if you can make the goals and the habits and the rituals really small, a 2-minute meditation, a walk to the end of the driveway, and one line in a gratitude journal. They're my minimums, and I don't ever break them because they're so simple. And yet, do I expand on that? Do I go further? Do I write more? Yes, every day.
Yes, I love celebrating along the way. I actually wrote a song about it on my Peace Pump album because I felt like it was something that needed to be celebrated. So I'm just going to play a little bit, enjoy a little dancey break.
Move the finish line one too many times, turn my dreams into a climb. Forgot the view, forgot the fun, forgot to celebrate what I'd already done. Perfection, recovery is simply accepting me, not waiting for some future self to set my spirit free. Standing in the sunlight of the progress I've made, learning to celebrate instead of just upgrade. Celebrate this, hey. Celebrate now. Celebrate now. Oh, we're here somehow. Celebrate this, celebrate today. Oh, a little more progress. Oh, we've made along the way.
I hope you're celebrating those little steps along the way, guys. It's so worth it. It's just a joy to be able to stop and celebrate. All right, let's hear from Sathiavanni.
There isn't one specific process really, because when you come to that point, or when you're gradually growing into that, you know, flowing in that frequency, as individuals, you come up with what is going to be resonating for you on a soul level, in how you're going to maintain it, how you're going to process it, and so forth. So it's not one stock standard, is going to be unique to you. Okay, again, just be open to it. Be open to it.
The power of open-mindedness and just being open is phenomenal, and it allows us all to step into our flow just by being open and willing. So let's move on to Karen.
Yeah, rituals for me are connecting into my heart, connecting into my intuition. I do this every morning because for me, that is really important for my growth, for my connection and my deepened connection to me. And the more that I do that, the more I'm growing my connection to the wisest free flow states of being that are possible to me. So my ritual is definitely connecting into my heart each morning, opening my heart and really sitting in a place of love and expansion.
And there's just so many tests now that show that the heart being measured on a certain frequency really impacts its environment around it. And the Heart Math Institute actually has measured the heart, and different frequencies that we actually operate on do change our heart frequency. So if we are focused more on love, and we do talk about love as an amplifier of peace, we also discover that when we're at peace, we create more, because we actually reduce noise, we reduce distraction, we reduce density on top of us, and we actually liberate ourselves in that 7D awareness more. So yes, the heart connection is incredibly powerful and important to our creative process and our 7D awareness. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I've really enjoyed it. I've turned up and I'm feeling much lighter and brighter and positive around the process that I'm in with this creation journey of this podcast. It's really given me so much good juju, and I really want to expand on this conversation even further in our next episode, because it's actually about 7D creation mastery, and it's ripples beyond the universe. That's the title. And together we're going to explore how conscious creation expands beyond us and influences our relationships, our communities, and the collective field itself. So less about our journey with it and more about how we are rippling out. So we're going to discuss the role of intention, attention, and energetic alignment in amplifying impact, along with practical ways to sustain flow and create meaningful ripples that extend far beyond what we can immediately see. Until then, trust the process, honor your creations, and remember that every conscious act has the potential to shape the world in ways you may never fully realize. But in the meantime, just celebrate. Big love to you all. Peace in, peace out.
Celebrate today.